The 2023 starting rotation for the New York Mets this year is brand new. We've got tons of new faces with guys like Jacob deGrom, Taijuan Walker, Chris Bassett, Trevor Williams all going and leaving in free agency and going elsewhere. It's a new look. As of right now, the top four seems to be pretty much settled, with the two Hall of Famers at the top already established in their careers with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, with the new star Kodai Senga coming out of Japan and also Jose Quintana here for the next 2 years. But we have one spot in this rotation that always seems to be a debate every single spring training, that being the number 5 starter job. It's time to open the debate once again. Who is going to be the Mets' number 5 starter for the 2023 opening day roster? These other honorable mention names, Joey Lucchesi, Josh Walker, Jose Budo, definitely long shots to make the rotation, but we'll definitely get quite the look at them during spring training. But as for the 3-horse race that we're expecting it to be this March, it will most likely be between Carlos Carrasco, Tylor Megill, and David Peterson. So let's just start with Carlos Carrasco. Coming off an injury-riddled end of the season last year, 1 year older, coming into a 36-year-old season. They picked up his option during the offseason. What is your confidence level right now going into this year for Carlos Carrasco?
I mean, Cookie's, in his part of his career, he's kind of the definition of a 5th starter. His age, he is getting up there, and there's definitely the injury concern. But in today's game, the 5th starter, it seems to be a revolving door for every team. It's not just the Mets. And we're asking this question, who the 5th starter is. It's going to be all 3 of these guys at some point in the season is going to be the 5th starter. Hell, they might be the ace of the staff, especially what happened last year. One of these guys started opening day. So who knows what happens in spring. Carrasco's age, and the fact that he's got a $13 million next to his name, he probably, in the front office's mind, has the edge. Would I hate seeing him? Because there was some good stretches and then of last year that he was a solid, 4 or 5 starter. But again, you're battling a guy who's going to be injured, probably maybe throw 120 innings if you're lucky. If he's the 5th starter, I think it could be upgraded at the trade deadline. I do expect them to add another top flight arm, either ace or quality number 2, number 3. And yes, is he getting paid $13 million? But hell, at this market, that's what a number 5 starter goes for on the open market now. So yes, he's going to be injured. You hope to get 120 innings out of him. But again, he's a vet. The Mets are going to trust because of the veteran-laden staff. Would I hate seeing Carlos Carrasco? No. Am I like, oh yeah, I'm happy to see him? No. But is he just a 5th starter and I can get a couple starts at him? I think I'm pretty fine with it. But I don't love Cookie. I don't hate him. He's just kind of he's a person that fills out that 5th spot.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same field as you right now. The only thing that we can definitely wonder about is the Mets obviously putting him on the trade block during this offseason. And they have expressed that the 2 other pitchers that are in this race, that they believe that it most likely could be them outlasting him towards the end of the season, whether he does get traded or not. A $13 million reliever is something that I don't think that the Mets are going to try to explore. And I don't think Carlos Carrasco is built to be a reliever, especially this late in his career. I don't think he's going to transform into one at any point. I don't think he's a swingman role at all. At this point, he's a 5 starter at best, and that's what he's pretty much up for as of right now. We look at this rotation depth, or look at the rotation of starting options of guys who we could see in that starting role with some possible injuries with an older staff. You look at that selection of guys who haven't pitched in the major leagues, have limited experience in the major leagues, and also pitched in the major leagues. Of all of these options who could be your number 5 starter beyond this 3-horse race, a few of them I am taking over Carlos Carrasco. And that just comes from the thought of he's coming from the back end of this rotation. We're going to need him to step up if you do have injuries at the top. And I personally don't believe protecting a 40-year-old Justin Verlander and protecting a 38-year-old Max Scherzer is not going to run into the same problem that you have with a 36-year-old Carlos Carrasco. If you were to install Carlos Carrasco into your 5 role, which is probably the most likely out of all of these guys, let's be honest. I think that they're going to rely on Jose Quintana pitching over at least 170 innings, 160 innings. There's injury prone all around. There's a question mark in the middle with Kodai Senga. I don't think there's much of a safety net if you were to put Carlos Carrasco at the 5, but he's still here. He's still on the roster. Doesn't look like he's going to move to the bullpen at all, even though there are spots open for that. I don't see him as a reliever at all. And I think it's a pivotal decision. They want to go another direction. I would not blame them because there is so many concerns going on with Carlos Carrasco, him being on the downswing of his career right now. And then that takes us to Tylor Megill. Was the opening day starter last year due to the injury to Jacob deGrom by opening day, and then Max Scherzer took the ball in game 2. Started off pretty well, and then started to get a little banged up, was hurt for most of the season, came back as a reliever. It was pretty much a disaster, and then was put back onto the IL towards the end of the season. We've seen a lot of promise from this kid, and of course, I'm very high on him. I know there's some people that aren't high on him as much because of the recency bias bull. But I'm the most confident with Tylor Megill out of all of these guys. But again, that probably isn't the situation with you.
He's still just, again, like Carrasco and other guys, pitchers that just doesn't pitch enough. If he's fully healthy, and he can be great. But again, we're doing this if he's healthy, then he can be good. Does he have great games? Yes. Does he have some starts where he looks electric and you're like, all right, that's the guy that everybody's been waiting for? Yeah, there have been some starts where you've seen that electric upside and you're like, oh, this is okay, there you go. This is a building block, or, at best, a number 3 starter after the aces. And then there's nights where you just see he's just another guy. And again, dealt a lot of injuries. Yes, he really hasn't pitched a lot, which is a benefit that he doesn't have the mileage on his arm like other pitchers. But yet, even with not a lot of mileage on his arm, it seems to me he's always getting injured, and always here's a hiccup with the elbow, here's a hiccup with the shoulder. That shouldn't be a problem if he hasn't thrown as many innings as other guys. He has one of the fresher arms in the organization, and you're still seeing these little hiccups. Yes, do I think he can be great? Yeah. Am I as confident? Again, I've made this clear. Best ability is available. And if you're not available, how can I trust you? And yes, when you're on the field and you look to have those great starts, cool. I would rather a guy give me 170 innings of mediocre than 70 of high-end, this dude's lights out stuff. I like him more than probably both of the guys on this list, but that's not saying much, especially when we get to the next guy. So is there upside in Tylor Megill? Yes. I need to see it healthy, or at least over 140 innings in a season, because he just, throughout his minor league career and throughout his big league career, he hasn't even given me the ability to say, hey, he's that guy.
I think the major concern of health with Tylor Megill is 100% justified. I mean, this guy was throwing 98, 99 in opening day. Velocity was going down to 96, 97, came back barely gassing 96, just was not himself at all when he came back. I do trust Tylor Megill to get it together because of kind of just how he's set up as a pitcher. I think there's different ways that he could find some more success. I know that he's always gotten the Jacob deGrom comparisons, and that isn't fair to him. It's not fair to, like, in any circumstances, it's not fair because he's not similar to Jacob deGrom as much as people think he is. He's a lot more of a mix of different types of aces, and that's what I see him as. There's some Zach Wheeler in there to me. There's a little bit of Corbin Burns in there to me. I think one of the main problems with him, and I really hope that Max Scherzer helps him out with this, and possibly Justin Verlander, and that is just basically saving their velocity. Don't overthrow. And that's, I think, something that he really does need to learn going later on in his career to have that type of success, because this guy's got good stuff on him. I think that he is someone who I would let him take the reins and run with it, but there has to be some adjustments that need to be made. So now let's get to the main show of this video, which I really think that everyone's pretty much waiting for. Let's get to David Peterson, the guy that I have criticized more than think that he can identify as a number 5 starter at his best, but we just don't know when we're actually going to get that from him. I really am just not that big of a fan of him. I get that the fan base really loves him for some reason, but as for me, I don't think that he has that makeup to be a successful starter. If you were to go month-to-month basis with David Peterson, he only really had 2 to maybe 3 good months. If he actually could find that consistency, he would be a fantastic number 5 starter for this team, but he just has not shown that yet.
Everybody, it seems like he has a fan base for both sides, have these like hardcore, die-hard, he's Jacob deGrom, or he's going to be Clayton Kershaw or any other legendary lefty. Does he have a decent slider? Yeah, it's nice. You have one good pitch. Like, I would have valued Peterson a little more if you, and I'm not a big guy with this, so you need a lefty in the rotation. If Jose Quintana wasn't here, I think I'd be a little more, okay, I would be more willing to give David Peterson another chance because there's no southpaw in this rotation. But with Quintana here, really no. And I've made this clear in every video it seems we make. I want a second lefty in the bullpen. And he wouldn't even go into that second lefty role. He would go into the Trevor Williams, which he would be the long man coming out of the pen, which he had some good starts out of the pen, but a lot of bad. There's nothing special. We're talking about fifth starter. We don't need anything special. Maybe I'm more old school, but I need my fifth starter to just give me innings. Is there a good pitcher inside of David Peterson? Yes. Will we ever see it consistently? In a Mets jersey, I would bang no, but if he was wearing a Tampa Bay Rays or a Milwaukee Brewers or Dodgers jersey, maybe. But I don't think we're going to see that first-round pick, top-flight left-handed pitcher that we was drafted to be. This is going to be the revolving door. All 3 of these guys are going to get fifth starter spots because of injuries, especially at the top of the rotation. The unknown of Kodai Senga. All these guys are going to get starts. And who else? And God knows who else they add throughout the season on the waiver wire, if they ever decide to make a trade at the trade deadline. Do I love David Peterson? No. Is he a flawed pitcher? Yes. But as a fifth starter, I think you could deal with it if you had a little more certainty in the 3 spot. Again, with Kodai Senga being the biggest question mark, I would allow it, but I do think they're going to give him that another chance, which, again, do I hate it? But as a fifth starter, I'll live.
Listen, you can look at his year last year. Overall, it was a quality year. I think it's just finding that sort of consistency that you're going to have to lean on so much when you have older guys in your rotation that you don't know if they're going to be healthy for 20, 25 starts a year. So the fact that you do have to expect the worst case scenario because of an older rotation, as talented as they are, one question that I have pretty much asked myself going into this year with this type of rotation that's a lot more on the older side with these 5 starter options, can they be the number 3 if we need them to be? And that's what I need to know. From what I've seen from David Peterson, the lack of consistency of how that he just carries himself, and he has these moments where he just has these blow-ups. Granted, he was better than what he was in 2021. The man in 2021 was a disaster, but these constant blowups that he's had where he can't hit the strike zone or he's hitting the strike zone but he's missing intended spots, it's just a recipe for a disaster. One of the biggest things that I preach is control and command. Whether you have control or whether you have command or whether you have both or you have neither, if you don't have any of them, I'm probably not going to like you that much. I can't trust that he's going to go out there every 5 days and actually have those two together. Now listen, this is a 5 starter, but like I said, older rotation, could he back up an older rotation that is going to have injury concerns throughout a 162 game season? Megill, Peterson, Carrasco in your rotation, Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, Quintana. Who are you writing into that 5 spot?
I think kind of the order we kind of explained it, the order I think I could trust, that being Carrasco, 1, giving him the first shot. Again, has the salary to his name that most likely the organization is going to give him that first lick, a la Kyler Robinson Cano situation. Hey, got a big number next to his name. He's going to get the first shot. I have a know of what Carrasco is at this point. Give me an average start every 5th day. I think he can do that. Yes, I wouldn't put him against the Braves, but, whatever. Then I'd go Megill. Again, I'd trust his stuff a little bit better than Peterson. And then Peterson. I think the front office, values Peterson a little more. Gill has shown a little bit more in the big leagues than Peterson. Yes, the injury concern is going to be the massive thing of, hey, we'll even make it through spring. Pure talent and what I expect from them, Carrasco, Megill, Peterson.
Well, I'm giving the number 5 spot to Megill. 100% here on out, I'm letting him run with it because, like I've said throughout this entire offseason, I want the Mets to make the back end of this rotation younger. And not only do I want it younger, I also want it, obviously, for someone who can actually be trustworthy at the end of that rotation? And like I said, could they be the number 3? He's pitched like a number 3 before, and he's shown that he could be a number 3 in small spurts. And even though David Peterson is young, I don't trust him at all. But I think this is going to be a job that is going to be battled out to the finish, to the end of spring training. And I think that if the Mets are going to go in different directions, whether it's Megill or Peterson, but other than that, it's a storyline that is going to be stretched out towards the end of March into opening day.